I'm Greg Stanley. I'm here with Wes Warren of Whitehall Management. Today, we'd like to talk about something we hear about a lot from our doctors, and that is who's really running the show. Some offices, the doctors feel like they're dragging everyone or trying to drag them across the finish line and make the practice successful. Other offices, we get complaints from staff that they're dragging doctors trying to get across the finish line. Let's talk about that, Wes. What have you learned about it?
I think that most doctors are struggling with team that is not responsive, team that doesn't quite have the same get up and go as years past, and holding these people accountable. Oh, they just quit on you. Getting them to show up on time is a miracle. Let alone getting them to do things correctly at a high standard. And I think that I would think that's nearly 70-80% of the doctors out there. This is what they're dealing with. And there's talk of it being like a generational thing. The new generation is not as and that could be. I'm not going to speculate on, but I certainly think that the iPhone in general has changed our attention spans uh, up and down the age brackets. So there's something to it that I'm seeing that's not just generational, but it's a problem. So I got these people, I've hired them, and they're doing about half the speed, if you will, as years past. And so how do I hold them accountable? How do I do that? How do I raise the bar, Greg, to get them to perform and to be excited and to create a practice that, quite frankly, you want to work in and you want to be a patient in.
Wes, for years, when interviewing offices, one of the first things I would ask um, early on would be who's pushing the office? Is it the doctor trying to push the staff or the staff pushing the doctor? And we get that. We get doctors that leave early and, have a half-hearted contribution. And it really frustrates staff that are trying. Now, I want to boil that down to what it means to you and the impact on the practice. Let me give you an example. An office where the staff are pushing and the doctor kind of goes along with it. Okay, yeah, I'll get in there and see that extra patient. Yeah, we'll see him today. In other words, all those things that motivated staff want from their doctor, owner, or associate. One of the things that facilitates is success with marketing patients. In other words, yeah, you can get marketing patients through the door, but without somebody really motivated to help them connect with the office, connect with a treatment that they are recommended, and all of that, those people just flow through without buying. We've seen doctors who can run 20 new marketing patients through the practice with no case acceptance. And in other words, somebody has to finally get turned on to this. If it's the doctor, that's okay. That's good. At least the doctor's trying. But when it's the staff and the doctor together, they can bring marketing people in, and it's very little difference between that and referral patients. You can make it good with just about anybody. So this idea of who's pushing, who's not pushing. If your staff is not pushing and you want them to, you're going to have to go back and review something that you wrote off years ago, bonus. And bonus has a tendency to just go off the tracks by itself. And since you don't really like to pay it, well, you just leave it there. Well, I tried that, didn't work. If you want to get an office that's pushing patients toward treatment in a very positive, inspiring way, you're going to have to get an incentive plan that puts staff on your team. And then you have to support it.
Oh, that's the number one thing. So as soon as we go in and you got a team that is just kind of going through the motions, barely showing up on time, all that kind of problems that we deal with. The first thing to do is get a bonus system in place that inspires them, that literally makes them go, gets them excited, gets them revved up. And you might have a bonus system, but it should have this effect that I'm talking about, where they get excited about bonus.
Let's talk about that. What makes them excited about it? Can I just throw in a couple things? One is it can be achieved today
Yeah.
with extra effort. Two, they don't want to hear you moaning when you're successful. In other words, they go, "Hey, we did it. We hit our number today." And you go, "Oh, are we still doing that?" And because, you got to pay. So those are some things that get it going.
It's got to be enough, like you said, daily is best. Pay it out daily. I mean, it's best. Obviously, a lot of you are going to put it in their paychecks, but what's best is to pull out the money and hand it to them. I mean, you got to get them excited. You got to change the dynamic of the practice to where they're excited for extra work. Right now, they literally don't want extra work. That's what it's boiling down to. They want some kind of pace and an environment that's not challenging, and it's creating this culture, if you will, that our doctors don't like. And so if you've got a bonus system and you're not getting this effect, you're doing it wrong, is the point. You got to
Let,
revamp.
let's look at the effects of inflation. I really think that it was a wake up call to most of us coming out of COVID when the inflation bill was finally presented in doctors' offices with hygiene uh, hourlies going way up, staffs starting untrained at high salaries, et cetera, et cetera. Inflation has affected bonus as well. You might have a bonus that staff are absolutely unimpressed by.
Yeah.
It's got to make a change in their life, probably somewhere around $400 or $500 a month if everything lines up right with the bonus. Once that happens, and yeah, there's some things you can do to keep it alive and exciting, but that's a separate topic. The first thing is to get it in place and start benefiting.
You've got to have that effect where they're excited about it. If you're not having that, and a lot of people will be like, well, I'm hardly making any money now. How can I afford to make a bonus up, Well, bonuses kind of got to be above and beyond, right? You got to do better than what's normal. And so there's ways to set up bonuses to where by and large it shouldn't hurt you, where it is a plus. But the more you worry about that, and you put all these caveats in it, the more it's deflating to that excitement that I'm talking about. So the more you put all these different riders in of all the things that's got to happen for you to pay out bonus, the more deflating it is for them and ruining that excitement that I'm talking about. And believe it or not, you don't have to do that forever. You can do this for 90 days, commit to it, pay it out with almost no riders, daily production. If we hit these numbers, I'll pay it out to create the culture, because once this is created, you can start adding the riders you want to your bonus system, and the people will continue in the same direction that they got accustomed to. So once a ball's in motion, it tends to stay in motion. Once the culture's set, it tends to stay in motion. So my recommendation is be very loose in the beginning, commit to it for 90 days, get them excited about it. Then you can start adding some stipulations to your bonus to protect yourself. But you got to get it back. So that's number one. Number two, if you find somebody that's not motivated by money, that's a problem for me. So there's two types of people. So there's people that are intrinsically motivated, people that will just do a good job because I care about my performance and I'm going to put my name on this. I'm going to do a good job. You're not going to make me look like a fool. Those people tend to rise very quickly to the top of their organizations. So you'll be lucky if you have one or two of those types of people in you'll be lucky to have that, who are just motivated without the money. Okay, then you got people that are motivated with money. And then you got people that are motivated by, it's almost like you need to figure out some kind of way of communicating with them. You just almost can't motivate those people. Those people have to be moved out. If you don't have them that are intrinsically motivated or motivated by money, there's really no other way. It's just too difficult to motivate and inspire those people. And in a dental office, you can have a couple of those type of people on your team, but very few. And so you got to be careful that those people don't overwhelm everybody else.
You know, I see a bonus as there's a lot of talk today about draining the swamp. You'll hear this kicked around. There's a swamp monster out there. Once we get bonus, it's like draining the swamp. The monster we find a lot of times is you. Staff saying, we did everything we could to get bonus, but he wouldn't stay 15 minutes and do a same day. He wouldn't stay into lunch. The doctor wouldn't do this, the doctor wouldn't do that. In other words, once you got staff motivated, you can become the swamp monster if you are not careful. You need to be, let me give you an example, and it doesn't come from general dentistry. One of the things we've seen for years in orthodontics is doctors, the minute they're done with the chairs that were full of patients, they go into their office, get on their phone or computer, and start doing personal things.
Mm-hmm.
They have to go dig them out of the office to get them for the next round. Whereas if they have an associate, the associate's left out on the floor and he's always there or she's always there. And it's a great motivating relationship with the doctor. Like I said, it's so easy for you to become the problem for their bonus. And once they get motivated by bonus, it very well could shine a spotlight on you as holding them back. And staff will talk about this typically 1 or 2 times. When Wes and I talk to them, they'll say, yeah, we were excited for a while about the bonus. Wes and I just talked to a staff person the last few days. She said, my doctor just doesn't get it. He makes me wait 3 months after I've earned the bonus to pay it. He causes me all kind of headaches and grief until I'm absolutely ready to quit. And there's a bonus there. Staff want it, but the doctor makes it almost unattainable to the point they almost regret that they even have a bonus.
Yeah, and you got to be careful that you're not doing that. So nearly half the time, it's the doctor, in the way of a bonus. So whether it's that you're not creating urgency, that you're unclear with your recommendations, there's a number of things that you can do aside from just not wanting to do same day, not wanting to come out of your office. There's a number of things.
Well, doctors tell you and I, they tell us, crank it up, man. Let's get the marketing going, get the staff jacked up with, well, let's do it all. And then as they think it over, they have a little shame about all the new patients that are coming from marketing, which they kind of think down deep should be coming because of referrals. They have shame because they have staff that have to get a bonus on top of a good paycheck, really to push the practice along. So some of them say they're in such a corner. They're backed into a corner. They say, yeah, okay, I'll do marketing. Yes, okay, I'll do bonus. But the truth is they don't really want to do those things and have a tendency to want to shuck them off the moment they can. But make no mistake, this is still what drives a practice. People that are engaged, and this is the price of engagement.
And there's no way around it. You can't, remember I told you there's 2 types of people: intrinsically motivated and the people that you can motivate with bonus. Oh, well, there's 3. And there's one that are only motivated by, I don't know, time off, or, they have all these lists of things that motivate them, but it's very hard to have a uniform system. of motivation because you'd have to have a list a mile long for each person. So it's three kinds of people. We cross out the third, and so there's two, right? You're lucky if you've got one that's intrinsically motivated on your team. You're lucky.
Let me add one more thing, Wes, and that is a lot of doctors, like I said, down deep, they quietly applaud bonus going by the wayside, or even marketing going by the wayside. And they revel in that for 2 to 3 months because the practice has the momentum to carry itself off previous motivation or marketing. And so the bill comes due 3 months later, the practice is down, and they say, well, I tried bonus, I tried marketing. I really didn't like doing that. What else have you got for me? Well, like you said, this is a universal. This is what drives patients. It's what drives staff.
Okay, and so as far as holding them accountable, so what we do is we get them hooked on the drug, if you will. So it's kind of like, getting them used to this extra money in their paycheck, and it's got to be consistent. This is why it's got to be earned daily, so that at the end of the month, that there's no plus or minus. They've made something in bonus throughout the month. You do that for a few months, and they get used to it. Now, all of a sudden, you can start putting in those riders that I'm talking about to hold them accountable, meaning, hey, you got to be here on time.
Or we got to hit a certain number.
Yeah, if you're late, you lose half your bonus. If you're late twice, you lose all your bonus for the month. There's certain things you can do to start holding them accountable to their job based on their bonus.
Not where you
Bonus,
start. Not where you start.
bonuses first, get them used to it, then start holding them accountable on the things that drive you nuts. And doctors all have pet peeves, let's call it that. Like I want the tray set up when I walk in the room. Believe it or not, that's a real challenge. You can be like, look, you get 3 strikes. The first strike, you lose 25%. The next strike, you lose 50% of your bonus. Third strike in the month, you lose all the bonus for that month. So there's different things you can do to start holding people accountable again, where you really can't now. But the first thing to do is get them hooked on the money.
One of the biggest things to start with is through your bonus, you drive your practice from 125 to 200,000 a month. That's great. But then you start to see it start to slide back down. What Wes is saying would apply to this. You could throw in a rider like he's talking about that says if it drops below 190 or whatever, you start losing parts or all of the bonus.
Yeah, so start with parts of the bonus. So have it like, let's say the practice does 200,000 normally, and if we drop to 190 or 185, you lose half your bonus. If we're below that, you lose all your bonus. So you certainly can do that. You could do all kinds of things with it, things that frustrate you that you want corrected, if you can quantify it, you can set up a bonus where it's tiered, where you lose parts of it based on performance. So case acceptance. So your treatment coordinators, if your case acceptance 70%, you get all your bonus for the month. If it's 60%, you get half. There's all kinds of things you can do to start holding people accountable. But the first thing to do is get them excited about bonus. That's the most important part. They got to get excited about it, get them used to it, and then start adding all these little things. You can't go crazy with it, but you can certainly change performance if done correct.
I want to throw in a condition that we're running into in a number of offices. A lot of Whitehall offices have a doctor that has his or her eye on transition. And as this, maybe he really got good at bonusing and driving the staff and the staff driving him or her. And then as they approach a certain age, and it's probably different for everybody, they start to think to themselves, I don't really want to be pushed this way. That's when you've got to have an associate in the wings ready to get pushed, ready to do well. And, that associate's 35 or 40 or whatever, ready to go after it.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about adding an associate, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to getting it right, and part of it is definitely getting the team hyper motivated. So you've got to have this drive from your team, or else the chances of associate success goes way down. So this is definitely got to get this right. So if you want to get back on track with your team and holding them accountable, this is where it starts. And like literally, you could just say, look, I'll just make an investment and say for 90 days, I'll pay out a bonus, kind of no questions asked, based on daily production goals that we set. And definitely talk to us about this, where you go, hey, I'll commit to spending 6 grand, get them all used to it so that I can start holding them accountable again. Literally, you can get your team where you want them to be, but you do have to pay a little bit, and that's the downside.
You have to support them. You have
Yep.
to make it possible for them to get that bonus. If this has brought up questions for you, and here's how you know if we're talking to you. You've seen your practice slow down. You're wondering where to start to get it, back in the air, to get it going again. Get on the phone with Wes and I, and we'll go through this with you with your practice, your numbers, your staff, and we'll show you where to start step by step and rebuild your momentum and get back up into maximum profit.
Thanks for listening.